We're in a moment right now where people are asking really big questions. And right up there with questions about human survival, AI and consciousness, identity and meaning, there are other questions surrounding economy, power, democracy, inequality. And what does it mean to live a good life? And parallel to these questions, there's growing momentum for employee ownership, not just as a niche strategy, but as a real answer to these bigger challenges. Because here's what's not working. Too many workers are in jobs that don't earn living wages or provide and support for like a decent life. Business closures, especially in rural areas, are devastating local communities and small towns. And private equity is getting called out in a big way right now. I hear it's pretty brutal over on TikTok. That's not where I spend my time. But people are waking up and getting kind of pissed off about the way that private equity extracts values from companies and from workers and is only serving to pad the pockets of the 1%. Employee ownership is a way to flip the script across all of these conversations. Because instead of value and profits flowing out of a company and into those investor pockets, it stays with the people who show up every day to do the work. And employee ownership isn't just for small businesses, legacy companies, or mission-driven organizations. It works across industries, state lines, and business models. From manufacturing to the green economy, from media to grocery store chains, from the care economy to tech startups. Don't put employee ownership in a box. Don't write it off because you think it belongs to someone else. It is a highly customizable approach to sharing value with whoever's creating that value. Now, there's some common questions to address up front. One of the big ones I get when I talk to business-oriented folks is this socialism? That sounds like some kind of socialist experiment, but it is not. Employee ownership is pro-enterprise, it is pro-ownership, and it is pro-accountability. Employee ownership is just a smarter, more sustainable form of capitalism, where the people who create the value actually get to share in it. Secondly, this is not just for mission-driven companies or B Corps or social impact organizations. There are billion-dollar ESOPs, employee stock ownership plan is a form of employee ownership, national chains, and even private equity-aligned employee ownership funds. Some of the most competitive engineering firms and like DoD defense contractors are competitive because they are employee owned, and that employee ownership drives their competition and their success. Another common question I get when people learn about employee ownership for the first time is like, has this been around for a while or is this kind of a new thing? In fact, employee ownership has been around for a long time, especially in other places in the world. Worker cooperatives are sort of like a core strategy for communities coming together and creating value and solving their own problems. But here in the United States, since 1974, there's been tax law in place that stood up something called employee stock ownership plans, which is an incredible form of employee ownership. And that's been around for 50 years. In fact, last week, that would be July 24th, 2025, the Senate hosted a bipartisan hearing on the benefits of employee ownership and what we need to do in this country to sort of expand those benefits so that it is more well known and more companies engage in employee ownership. There was a great testimony by Director of the Institute for the Study of Employee Ownership and Profit Sharing at Rutgers University, Joseph Blasi, and he testified to the benefits of employee ownership, which he has personally been studying in a professional capacity for over 50 years. And here are just a few. How about for the last 50 years, as employee ownership has been studied, companies that are employee owned have better retirement benefits, lower turnover, safer workplaces, and they are more likely to involve workers in participation in solving company problems. As you can guess, this results in really good outcomes for the businesses as well as for the workers. From just a retirement standpoint and a wealth building standpoint, those who have retired from employee-owned companies, specifically ESOPs, have 2 times the retirement wealth in their old age compared to retirees from non-employee-owned companies. Just let that sink in for a second. There are a lot of other benefits, just a few. If you're curious about how it benefits businesses, there is a 20% increase in labor productivity when thousands of ESOP manufacturing companies were compared to tens of thousands of non-ESOP companies. 20% increase in labor productivity. This is a really important moment around American manufacturing and talent acquisition systems and productivity of companies, 20% increase in productivity. In addition, Joseph said that 0% of ESOP workers were laid off in the last year compared to 7% of non-ESOP workers. And there are quite a few other benefits that he talked about, including employer-sponsored training, including company problem solving, and including profit sharing and other kinds of financial levers. I really encourage you to go and watch that Senate hearing. It's really incredible. The list goes on, but here's the point. If you care about any of these things, good jobs, economic mobility, rural communities, all the different kinds of wealth and opportunity gaps that we're facing in our country, or just the future of humanity, work, and our planet, how to live a good life, then employee ownership is a tool that belongs in your toolbox. It is not a silver bullet, but as an interconnected strategy, it is a solid, scalable lever for real structural change. So, in the next video, I'm going to walk you through what is the employee ownership ecosystem, who are the major players in the ecosystem, and how they're all interconnected with who's doing this work. You'll start to see how people from all different kinds of backgrounds, from finance to education, workforce to policy, even the startup and entrepreneurship community are connected and collaborating on this work together. This isn't just about keeping companies and our economy alive. It's about rethinking who gets to own, who gets to lead, and who gets to thrive. And I think those are really important conversations as we think about how to build a good